important that parents and their children have an effective communication. This can always reduce this parent-child conflict happening. Parents say they don't understand their kids say they don't understand their parents. Today on the Reflection Show, we are looking at parent-child communication, how parents and children can communicate effectively so there can be effective understanding from both parties. When we do this, there can be peace reigning in the family. Stay tuned, we'll be right back. Welcome back from the break. Still a Reflection Show here with me, Martha Bice. Like I said in my intro, we want to look at parent-child communication. You know, most of us growing up may not have had the opportunity to effectively communicate with our parents. And sometimes we end up fighting with them, we argue with them, and it even ends up creating so much conflict in the family. I'll be speaking with Pastor Maoli Nyado. He's the director of Dunamis Bible Institute here in Tamale and the pastor for Restoration Power Ministry. He's also a PhD student at KNUST. Thank you very much, man of God, for joining us.
Thank you.
Parent-child communication, you know, it's been one of the issues that a lot of us have been thinking about, but have not had the boldness to confront it. So straight to the point, when we talk about parent-child communication, what is it all about?
So communication is sending a message from one person to another. And when it comes to the parent-child one, it's a communication from the parent to the child and the child to the parent. So communication can be positive or negative. It can be effective or ineffective, depending on the result. When it's effective, we have result, an expected result.
Okay.
If it is not, realize that then there was no communication.
Okay.
So sometimes it's like a one-way street. One person is saying one thing, the other is not actually hearing and understanding. So it's one thing to hear, it's another to understand. When we understand each other, that's when there's less conflict.
Okay.
And there's also an expected result that we desire.
Okay, you mentioned effective and ineffective. What do we see, or what are some of the things that we should see that shows that this communication has been effective or not?
Yeah, so let's take, for example, a parent gives an instruction. When the child understands, you see that what the parent wants
to be done,
is done. And is done exactly as he or she expects. So that's why we say that there is effective communication. And when it does not also result in conflict.
Okay.
You know, when there's a miscommunication, you see that you are asked to do one thing and you end up doing something else. If there's miscommunication, we don't get the desired result. Then we say it's not
effective communication. Okay, that is more about the parent and the child. Now let's look at the child and the parent.
Yeah.
That's kind of communication. How do you think we should communicate to our parents?
You see, many times parents think, especially in African context, parents think that they know it all. Mostly in African context, we practice what we call the authoritarian parenting style, which actually does not bring effective communication. For example, once I say go and sleep, you have nothing to say.
Whether you feel sleepy or not, go and sleep because your parent has said it.
Yeah, and that is that. Obey before complain. There's strictness, there's no much discipline. There's punishment, corporal punishment especially, you know, all those stuff. So usually it becomes one way. When such things happen, children tend to, the communication tends to have a one-way stream, and then
children tend to not come to appreciate their parents or love their parents.
Okay.
Okay, when there's no effective communication, that's what happens. So go and sleep, you have to go and sleep. Eat, you have to eat. Whatever it is, you don't complain, you just obey. There's always obey. So you see that many parents who use this style of parenting do not really help their children, especially during the teenage years.
And that is always where the problem comes from.
Yeah.
It's like when teenagers get to that stage, there's always this friction and this fight between they and their parents. Why is it that?
So there are two things. When we talk about parent-child relationship, there are two things that happen. There is communication and then there's conflict.
Okay.
So communication, effective communication reduces conflict. Whether you like it or not, there will always be friction between a growing teenager and the parent. You know, as we grow, we interact with others, our peer cycle increases in school and all those stuff. So sometimes the voices of our peers is louder than our parents. Okay, so once there is not effective communication, there is more conflict. And effective communication reduces the conflict. So during these periods, the child or the teenager is expecting to live a certain kind of life, or wants to take a certain kind of professional life and things like that. It can always create problem in the home, especially when the parents do not understand the perspective of the child. So that's where effective communication comes in. Sometimes parents don't take their time to listen to their children, and that's the problem. A research was conducted in America, and 95% of the teenagers say that their parents don't listen to them. It seems instead of their parents giving them solutions to their problem, they turn out to be like blockade rather to their progress. You know, so that means that the parents are fault not transmitting that which the desired moral socialization that they want in their children. So when that happens, instead of the children communicating with their parents, talking to them on issues, especially our teenage ladies, they have issues. They have relationship issues. You know, they should be able to confide in their parents, especially the girl-child mother relationship. That should be very strong. If not, if you do not communicate well with them, there is somebody somewhere that will communicate well with them. The street will communicate with them.
That's true.
Their peers will communicate. They don't know what they are telling. They are sharing in their secret. And even these days, children tend to learn more or speak to counselors online. People who pose as counselors.
I like the word you used, pose as counselors, because it's like everybody comes, just do a video, especially on TikTok. You hear things like 3 signs to show a guy doesn't like you, and sometimes I'm like, what? Every relationship is different. So you cannot, of course, there are some that can be similar, but you don't just make a conclusion that because this is happening, it means this is always going to happen. So now I want us to look at how can parents listen.
All right.
Because that is always the most important thing. How can parents listen?
One thing parents must do to demonstrate or show their teenagers especially that they are listening is to watch eye to eye when their children speak to them. Eye to eye, as we are looking at each other now. When that happens, the child knows that you are paying attention. You know, sometimes you are talking to your father, he's reading the graphic. Or in these days, we have social media, Instagram, we are on the phone, scrolling. You say what?
Or you dancing a lot of time, he says, okay.
Okay, you know, you said. So one, for us to show that we are listening as parents, I'm a parent. So for us to show that we are really listening, one, eye to eye. When I say eye to eye, sometimes it's not really looking at the person's face. Even when a child is standing or whatever, at least you can even go down to the eye level of the child so that you know that you are really communicating. If you are higher than the child is looking up, there's not really much communication going on unless you are at the same level. 2, so one, we do away with distractions. 2, we can repeat the things they said to confirm that that is what really they've said. The child knows that you are really listening to the person. The third thing we also have to pay attention to is that we do not postpone the time for the communication. Like, for example, your daughter or your son wants to talk to you, and you said, oh, I'm busy. Even if you are busy, schedule another time to know. Then the child knows that indeed you are interested in listening to what he or she wants to say. If that, look, in African setting, we hardly even see our parents, especially our fathers. They are always away looking for money, which is good. Money runs the house, you know, but they just have to make time and listen to us. You go on phone call, your child is saying something, and many times we don't pay attention. That's why things happen to them in the school.
And we don't know.
And we don't know. We don't know. This topic is dear to me because I grew up in an environment where there's not much effective communication. You know, I put it in one of my books, you know, and my father used to, the only time I met my father was when he came to punish me. Oh yeah, my father is a pastor, very nice gentleman, a disciplinarian, but I think he was not having a good relationship with me.
With kids, yeah.
With me especially, because the only time I met him at dawn, he comes to beat me, and I don't see him again till the next beating time. You know,
wow.
He's a teacher. He goes to teach somewhere. He wakes up very early, goes to work, comes back in the evening. Many times I'm asleep before he comes. Or sometimes I see him in church far away. I see him, that's my father. So we didn't have that kind of relationship. So I felt he was not really my father at a point in time. Unlike Yvonne Nelson's case.
Hey. I remember when I watched a video of, I think it was a story somebody was narrating, and he was like, one young man, a pastor's child, was like, Daddy, I want to see you. The father kept like postponing, and was like, I have to go to church, I have to do counseling, I have to do what. Then one time the child calls the father and say, Pastor. The father turns and say, why did he call me pastor? That because if I call you, those who call you pastor, you have time for them. They are crying, they have issues, you have time. If I say daddy, you feel that I'm your child, so you can always have time for me so I think not just people in ministry, but it goes out for people who are out there, who are a purpose person. Don't give the time to us and leave your family out there, because when the going becomes tough, it's your children and your family that are going to be there for you. Now, I want to ask a very interesting question about, do you think that parents sometimes are wrong in the way they go about things? And how should they handle it?
Yes and no.
Okay.
There's an adage in Ewe. The adult's matter is never wrong before the chiefs, the elders. A child can never be right before the elders.
Yeah.
So many times the parent may be at fault, but our upbringing,
culturally, you can't say my father was wrong.
Our upbringing does not allow for us to, as parents, to admit that we are wrong. But in many times we may be wrong. Yeah. So yes and no, but I believe that we are growing. You know, that those days where parents will not admit their fault, it's gradually fading off. And I believe that the time is coming, this current generation would admit our fault. If we are wrong, we are wrong. Especially when we give counsel that does not give the desired result, we should be willing to admit that we are wrong. And children should also, even if they are right and their parents are wrong, there's a way you go about it for your parents to accept that they are wrong. So it depends. This still comes to the communication. The way you communicate, the way you say it, the way you go about it. If you go and say it in public that you are wrong, you know, as an African child from an African home,
you may not live to see the next day.
The eyes they used to watch you would kill you before you get home.
But parents themselves, how do you think they should act when they realize they are wrong? Because some become defensive and they tend to blame. So I want us to break it down. How should parents react when they realize that one thing they said or one thing they wanted to do was actually wrong?
Well, what admitting that you are wrong is one for yourself.
Can you actually have a conversation with a child and say, I think I was wrong in this case?
There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong with admitting before a child that you are wrong. But it shouldn't be a norm. If it's once, twice, and the third, fourth time, then I think you need coaching to be a better parent. Yeah, because if you continually give a wrong counsel or wrong communication to your child, then
they won't listen to you when
yeah,
it's important.
You will not go. You will not be a go-to person when issues come up. That they want to get counsel for life, counsel for profession, or anything at all. They wouldn't come to you again if you continually make such mistakes. So I believe that as parents, we learn on the job. Parenting is a job that we learn on. You know, first-time parent, there are always things that you learn. Second child, always, especially when you are dealing with different genders. You know, the way you handle the girl child is not the same as you handle the boys. So I think parents must admit, not in a sense of massaging the ego of the child. Once that begins to happen, you realize that the child may feel superiority complex over you. You know, so yes, let's admit humbly, I'm sorry, I was wrong. It will not happen again. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
How should kids apologize? Let's look at that. When you offend your parent, is there a proper way that especially the teenager should apologize to their parents?
Well, when we're growing up as a child, one way you apologize to your children, your parents, apart from saying sorry, you do your house chores and do it well and on time. Yeah, that's one way of saying that I'm sorry. Because if you have offended your parent and you end up not even doing your house chores,
it gets them more angry.
My mother has a very thick hand. If it crosses that threshold and the hand comes in, you know that truly you have offended somebody. but then we must learn, one, to say sorry to our parents. You can wake up at dawn and go and apologize. If you can buy
gifts. But they beat us at dawn, so you don't know that they're dawn, or when you are going, they are going to beat you. you are even sending yourself there.
Yeah. So.
But why should they? Do you think it's a good practice? They'll beat you and ask you to dress up and go to school.
You see, those days are gradually
fading away.
They're fading away because these days it's quite hard to see a parent conducting a corporal punishment. Maybe spanking once in a while, but cane and all those stuff. They are really gradually moving. Belt. I used to receive belt. I used to receive whip. You know this.
No, that cane.
No, this is not cane. You know the rope for cow. You know that thick rope. I have received some before, a couple of times. You know.
Wow.
Yeah. So but those days are. I hardly beat my children. You know, one way of punishing children now. I don't think we should be using punishment. We use
correcting or discipline.
Discipline actually nurtures the good in a person. Punishment inflicts pain. Okay. So when you want the good out of a person, out of praise, you praise the person. When the person does good, you praise the person. It's a reinforcement that what I've done is good.
And because we hardly praise our kids,
yes,
it's not.
Yes,
it's just like when you do wrong, they have to deal with you. So the praising doesn't really count. So it makes it very difficult for.
I would say that many of us who were born in the 70s, 80s, and possibly earlier part of 90s. We are not outgoing. We are mostly internal people because of our background. You know, you want to do something, hey, stop that, don't do that. No, all we heard was no, don't. There was not like do. So we grew up, we are not able to go for parties.
Nothing was like self-esteem.
No self-esteem. You don't have any self-worth, nothing. You don't know yourself.
If you try small, you are too known.
Yes. Yeah, so I think most of the way we're communicated to, we're brought up, has made us quell inward. We are not bold. We are not able to be all outing, you know, stuff like that. We don't do that. I hardly go for parties. I go for parties. I go to a party. I'm seated. people are dancing, I nod my head, and that's
Sometimes
all.
they call for me to go out because I go out with my friends. And when it's like 9, 10, I'm like, let's
Hey,
go
let's
home.
go back home.
Let's go home. It's like
Let's go home. Because what
I'm not
betides you,
used
you
to-
come home
at
whilst
a
your
certain
parents are
time.
sleeping.
Yeah.
You know, and you come and knock. That dawn.
But you
the
know,
neem tree that will
we used to
visit
say
your
that when I
back
start
before you-
living alone, when I become a big girl, I'll do anything I want. I'll do everything I want. Now you are alone and you don't even want to do half of the things you wanted to do.
You see, it all goes back to our background, how we're raised. Okay. When you think that you've grown, so you can do anything, or what happens is this: the voice of your mother or your father is always with you. You know, the first time I went to the university, I went to the university thinking, oh, I'm free now. I was 20 years old, so I'm a free man. The first time I'm leaving home, you know, when you keep a goat in a pen for a very long time, when you release it, you see that it goes with such a speed, and then it goes to stop. You know, it stops suddenly, a punchy break. When I went to the university, I thought, hey, now I'm free, I can do whatever I wanted to do. I went and I couldn't do anything. Because anytime I'm even interacting with somebody, a lady or something, my father's voice keeps ringing in my head. Till now. So it's a seed that is planted in there. It takes courage, a lot of study to actually get out of that. That's how we're communicated. The hush, 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 hush. Even though, so you hear something like, spare the rod and spoil the child. So one of the best ways they communicate with us is the punishment.
And
They
sometimes
beat
I
you up.
feel that rod has been misinterpreted. It's not
Yeah.
necessarily a rod or a cane, but you can actually correct the child without not necessarily.
Yeah, that's why I said we need discipline. Discipline brings the good out of when we cultivate the good in a person, we groom them to be what God wants them to be. So when the scripture says that train up the child the way he should go, so that when he grows, he will not depart from it, it does not mean that you have to carve a path for the child. It means that you guide the child to walk in the will of God, the purpose for which God has created him or her. But in this case, most of us in this part of the world, we don't live the purpose of God.
We don't.
We live the purpose of our fathers and our mothers. Many times, by the time you come to rediscover yourself, it's too late. You know, because you've lived somebody's life all this while because of miscommunication. The only language some people speak is spanking.
That's what some people say, that for them to correct their spouses, they have to cane them. But we'll come and look at that because your kid is not your spouse, and that is even that kind of correction. Let's take a break. We'll be right back.
Books by Pastor A.L. Fant. They are inspired by the Holy Spirit, simple to comprehend, relevant in application, and so lovely to read. Grab copies like Dynamics of Kingdom Influence, Dynamics of Ministry, Mark is King for Church Workers, Money Matters, and she calls herself a woman. This marriage must work. No more curses. Loaded mouth. Secrets of Kingdom Dominion. The exploits of service. Things fall apart. Church without bleeding pulpit. Singles mingle, and many more.
Back from the break. It's still the Reflection Show with me here, Martha with Spice, and we are looking at parent-child communication, how our parents can effectively communicate with us so that we don't end up fighting with them all the time. Man of God, now I want us to look at how we can handle conflict, especially with the teenagers. Let's look at from the parent's perspective and with the teenager. When there is conflict, how do you approach your parent?
So as I've mentioned earlier, conflict is inevitable. Conflict will always happen. Even conflict happens within ourselves. So the teenager growing up is already having hormonal conflicts within. You know, conflict with relationship, with boyfriend, girlfriend issues, and then he comes back home. There are siblings conflict, and then now we have parental conflict. You know, so how do we handle the conflict? We must choose the right time to start talking about that conflict. There are times when the child may not be in the right mind to start communicating about that conflict, especially, let's say the lady, a girl child is in her menstrual cycle. You know, sometimes it can be very discomforting, you know, especially those who have menstrual cramps and things like that. You know. Just imagine there's a conflict and you come on with that issue. It can be quite discomforting for a child. So let's choose the right time to start talking about the conflict. Now, resolving conflict comes in many ways. Okay, apart from the time, the tone we use in the conflict resolution, the words we use in the conflict resolution, and
how we say it.
How we say it is very, very important. And we shouldn't go in resolving the conflict using a quick fix approach. Conflict can linger on even into the future, into the adulthood. So if we are dealing with the issue, let's deal with it now and resolve it now. If we want to resolve it now, the quick fix approach, maybe some people think that, oh, I'm your father, so whatever I say, I'm always right. So you don't have any right to say whatever I want to say or things like that. That doesn't solve the conflict. The child may listen to you, but will not understand you. Yeah, so one, we choose the time and the mood we use to speak. And then also, we must not talk down on the child.
Okay.
We must not insult during the times of conflict.
You are just a useless child.
Yeah, and
there's one thing I just want to add that quickly: comparison. Comparing, let's say if you have 2 or 3 more kids, comparing your kids.
Yeah.
It affects their self-esteem. How can parents handle that as well?
You know, there will always be a favorite child. There will always be that one child that you like, or
Really?
you like to send. Definitely. If you have more than 2, 3 children, there will always be one that you like. Ask any parent, they will always have one that they like. Definitely.
But don't make it too obvious.
Sometimes it is inevitable. You can't really hide it.
Oh, me at a point, I wasn't my parents' favorite child, I know. So, firstborns mostly are not their parents' favorite child.
No, it depends. You know, my sister, or my big sister, she can talk with my father every day. I mean, every blessed day. That's how they have developed their relationship.
Okay.
I barely talk to my father, hardly.
Okay, I think it was changing. There were times.
so it depends on the relationship you develop with the child. So the point is, there will always be one child that you love, and there will always be one child that is respectful.
Okay.
And there's one that is stubborn, a motor child. So the parents must learn the temperament of their children. It's very important. When you're able to know the temperament of each of them, you know how to respond to their needs, respond to their whatever conflict you have with them. Temperament is very
I think
key.
It's a key thing.
Yeah,
like parents need to learn
Yeah.
the temperament of their kids, because sometimes, but knowing their temperament, because there's a way you can talk to a sanguine, and there's a way you can even talk to a choleric, and even a flag. A flag might not even be offended with something that you have said, but a choleric child might easily be offended with something their parents have said.
Yeah, there's a joke you can make, and then the sanguine is laughing.
Yes.
But they maybe do that same joke on the choleric, and he or she is offended. So we have to pay attention to some of these things.
I think it's a key thing. Temperament
with them. So definitely, my dear Martha, there will always be somebody, one child that you like. But it is important that you love all of them, provide for all of them. But there's always one that you have that attraction.
How about talent and giftings and asking your child to do what you want? Parents have that problem. Some parents, please pardon me,
Yeah.
some parents have that problem when they want their kids to either be lawyers, to be doctors, to be certain kinds of professions that probably, and sometimes I feel that some parents out there want their kids to correct the mistakes they made.
Yeah.
So maybe, especially with mothers, they're like, maybe either they wanted to marry at a certain age, they couldn't marry at that particular age, so they want their daughters to marry at that particular age. Or they wanted to marry rich men, but they couldn't, so their daughters need to marry rich men. So I think that when parents want you to live the life they were unable to live, that sometimes creates conflict, right?
Yeah, it can create conflict. It is quite unfortunate that many African parents want their children to be in a profession that naturally their children wouldn't want to be in. My research I'm working on now at the PhD level is on parent-child relationship in context, especially looking at Ephesians chapter 6, the verse 4, where Paul instructs the fathers not to exasperate or make their children angry, but to instruct them in the ways of the Lord.
We don't hear that scripture very often.
Yeah, so I'm looking at that scripture, and my reading has revealed that many children are in professions that naturally, by their own choice, they wouldn't have been in. They have been forced to do those professions, and they are not happy. They are getting the money, they are getting the name, the influence, affluence, whatever, but they are not happy internally. They are having conflict either with me. So I think parents should guide their children in choosing a life path, even life partners. If I wanted to be a pastor throughout my life, my parents wanted me to be a lawyer. I remember they sent me to my uncle in Accra. We spoke. They were ready to get sponsorship. I said, I'm not going to. And maybe my teachers back in the senior high school said, why would you want to become a pastor? You know, stuff like that. Why don't you read political science? So this is what my parents, my father especially wanted me to do, because they needed a lawyer for the family. Okay. And I said, nah, I want to be a pastor. So people said, hey, you are going to be poor, you know, because we want to be a pastor. Your lawyer would have given you some time to look at a nice guy, you know. And I said, no. So it created conflict between myself and my father for some time until he came to visit me here and saw where I was living, and he said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I would have forced you to become a lawyer, you know. So that can create conflict, but please, parents, this camera is mine. Please,
to the camera.
don't force your children into professions they wouldn't want to go. There are people who have become journalists after their law school. You know, Bishop Dag, he was a medical doctor. Now he's a pastor. Look at all the impact he's made, you know, all this stuff. So we don't have problem going to your profession. So one thing I would have done is, okay, I'll become a lawyer. Then later
become a pastor. You could have become a lawyer and a pastor.
So I fulfilled my father's dream, and then now I'm doing my own dream. So let us not force our children. It's communication. Let's communicate. We see from childhood, let's nurture the children. They have natural talents. They have spiritual talents. It is there. So help them. Many of us, when we grew up, we could mold cars. I don't know if now anybody listening to me, we could mold our own cars with cocoa or this thing. We could craft things. Some of us could paint. We would have been good at.
But they said it was for the
would have been engineers by now.
I'm looking for the word to use because I'm on TV.
Would have been manufacturers by now. Would have lived better lives, happy lives.
There was someone told me a story of he began a small poultry farm. I think he got some money and went to buy. You know, in the local houses, you can rear your own animals. And he sold one and kept the money. And the father beat him and said that children don't keep money. So he was encouraged. But he would have had a very big poultry farm. And he would have been selling eggs and even all kinds of, let me say, poultry out there. But the encouragement wasn't there.
You can never succeed if you live somebody's life. You can never ever live a happy life if you live another person's life. God has designed us uniquely. Everyone is unique. And I was just going through your book. Everyone is unique. So God has designed us for a purpose. Somebody can, or we can have 10 cameramen, one person's picture.
Yeah, will be
Just the
much
same settings, everything. You realize that there is
the angle they take it.
the professionalism in it. That person, such people may not even have gone to a school or something, but that is what God has inbuilt in them. So they have, when they take camera, they can do wonders with it. I get it. So people are good cooks. They could have restaurants like KFC and stuff, but we push them. Some are nurses. Some are now midwives. They are killing our children.
Exactly, they give wrong
things like that.
prescriptions. Yeah.
Wrong professions. Recently, I was listening to one lady. She wants to be a beautician, and the sister says, "Go and do a nursing because we don't have any professional in our family." And the lady said, "As I'm doing this, I want to go and get a certificate for beautician." Are you getting me? So I look at this lady. I'm looking into the future. What is she going to leave?
She's going to leave patients and go and do makeup
So
stuff.
I think good and effective communication help discover ourselves,
Yeah.
live our God-given life, our God-given purpose. When we get to heaven, would you have to be answering that, and my father says, and my mother says? It will be that this is what I've been sent to do, and this is what I've achieved.
You know, there's something that I wrote down. It was supposed to have been part of this book, Inspiration for Purpose, but I took that. I took that portion out, and the title was "Understanding the Purpose of Your Children." And it was so dicey because someone looked at it and was like, "Martha, you're not married, you don't even have a child. How would you understand?" and all of that. So I actually took that chapter out from this book. And what I was saying was that it is a privilege. It's very dicey, unless you understand where I'm coming from. It's a privilege to have a particular child come to you as a parent.
Yeah.
God is only trusting their mandate into your hands. Are you going to be able? How many parents actually pray to God and say that, God, we say children are gifts from God, but how many of us hold our children and say, God, what is the mandate, the purpose of this child you have given me in this world? Give me the grace to help them identify their purpose. We hardly see that.
Yeah.
That is how come they want us to be what they want us to be.
Yeah.
It can be so painful. Me like this, I always say this everywhere I go. This is not what my parents wanted me to do. For several years, I was in a conflict with my parents, especially my late father, because he wanted me to be a teacher, a nurse, or an immigration officer like him. He could help me with the connections and everything, but that is not where God wanted me to be. And fortunately, I found my path. It was very difficult, and they were always like, we told you. But when it started yielding fruits for me, they were like, okay, God leads people in different ways. And I'm like, that's where the thing comes in, that they can't say, oh, I was wrong.
Yeah,
then they were not
didn't
like,
say that.
okay,
Yeah,
God leads
yeah,
people in
yeah.
different ways. So I think that parents, like you, I've never been to any media school. I have never sat in any media class. But I just found out that this is what I wanted to do. So I watch people, I learn, and the passion or the talent in me helped me, and I'm doing what I want to do. So I think that parents should be able to ask God why or what their children are born into this world to do.
There are two mandates God gives to parents: the physical mandate,
Yeah, spiritual
the
man.
spiritual mandate. And that is where the prayer comes in. When Hannah prayed for Samuel, she made a covenant. That is what I'm going to do. Someone would have been a carpenter or a farmer. He ended up being the first prophet. And till the end of his life, nobody could accuse him of anything. And that was God's purpose. Jeremiah, God said, when I formed you in your mother's womb, I called you to be a prophet unto the nations. So God has always endowed each one of us with a purpose. That is where the prayer comes in. What is the purpose? I have two kids. One is loud, the younger one, very loud. He's a boy, he's always running up and down, there and there. And I realized that he's good with language. He uses words that I wouldn't use at this tender age. You know, he's linguistically inclined. The sister, on the other hand, very calm, reserved, but can memorize. I get it. So I'm sitting down. What do you want to be? She said, I want to be a nurse. I said, well, you are calm. You can. I always have.
It will change. We also wanted to be nurses when we're young.
It changed because we were not guided.
No, for me, I think I said because I saw people wearing uniforms. Not because I didn't. Well, I didn't really understand who a nurse was.
Sometimes you see some of these. There could be fantasies that we have, and those were the only professions we really saw. People would have been good businessmen, business mongo like the Donald Trumps and co. But yeah, in the corner somewhere,
possible, yeah.
You know, so like you said, let's pray that the Lord will guide us as parents in nurturing the purpose of God in our children. It's very important. And it all boils down to communication. Let's communicate. Let's talk. What are you feeling? What do you see in the next 10 years? How do you, especially when we get to the teenagers, that's when the conflicting.
That's where the hormones start rising. You want to have a boyfriend, your parents says no.
You get to a point in time where I've met young ladies between the ages of 13, 19, even 20, who don't know what they are about in life.
That's true.
They get really frustrated.
That's very true.
So that is where the parents' voice is very important. You know what happens? Anybody at all can come in, a boyfriend or a friend. Oh, why don't you travel to Canada? There's a job opportunity. Why don't you go and be? So there are a lot of voices that are in the head of this child, but the mother's or the father's voice must be supreme. That must be the deciding factor. That you are, oh, my father said this, my mother said this, and is guiding me onto this path. Once you guide them from childhood. So whatever we plant in them through communication from childhood, they grow with it.
Yeah.
If it is good, it's a seed that is planted.
Yeah.
If it is bad, it bears false fruit. So this period are, you see, you are trying to discover
very tough
yourself.
season.
What am I going to? What is my life going to be like? You know, unfortunately, you see people on Instagram, your colleagues, they are social media freaks, so they are always posting something online. They edited. I always tell people that social media is not real. It's a virtual world.
There's this app that you are sitting in your room, and it puts you in a car.
In a car on TikTok. I saw that. You see, so and people are intimidated. They feel depressed because of the things they see on social media. That's where the voice of the mothers comes. Communication is very key. Let the children know, let them know from the beginning that this is not real.
It's not real.
This is real. Are you getting me? A special case is Yvonne Nelson.
Give us your final words also with that, so that we can wrap up.
Yvonne Nelson. We look at Yvonne Nelson, very good actress, you know, and we said she's nice, she's always smiling, all those stuff. But within,
maybe she also had her own issues, yeah.
So we as parents must always be involved. So there's one parenting style called uninvolved, then involved.
Yeah.
You know, where you are always involved in the life of the child. Don't be if you are a guy, don't be there's a term for that. Mommy's boy. You know, no. Yeah. Or we don't know any dada bar or mama stuff. But guide the children to make independent decisions
for themselves.
Informed decisions. And it all boils down to communication. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I have been speaking with Pastor Maoli Nyado. He's a director of Dunamis Bible Institute and Restoration Power Ministries, and also a PhD student at KNUST. I almost said UCC because that is the best school in Ghana. You can argue, yeah, UCC is the best, KNUST. We have been looking at parent-child communication. As you can see, that my book, Inspiration for Purpose, is still available for sale. Give us a call on the phone numbers you see on the screen, 0549578512. And if you are in Tamale, you can give us a call. We can easily get you access to copies of this book. I am Martha Spice. I'll be back with thoughts. Stay tuned.
My name is Mohamed Samsi. I'm from Tinguri. Today we are at Beduri community with Martha Inspire Foundation and Plan Ghana. Today we learned a lot. We learned about menstrual hygiene. Then they taught us how to insect pad, how to remove pad, how to dispose the pad.
When you wear a sanitary pad, the long parts at the back prevent you from soiling the clothes you are wearing with blood, whether you have a heavy flow or a normal flow. So in an instance where the long one is in the front and the short one is at the back, you will end up soiling yourself. So when you open it, to the front part, you have the short one. To the back part, you have the long one.
We learn about how to change your pads when you are in your menstrual period. They taught us about how to speak in public and safeguarding. You need to protect yourself from harm. And some of the example of safeguarding is sex enforcement, allegation against staff, and grooming. And you've learned how to identify yourself. I want to say thank you to Plan Ghana, thank you to Martha Inspire Foundation. We are really grateful. Thank you.
So as the team says, maximizing your potentials, yes, you need to go through formal education to actually be fit for this work that you do. We might say that education is expensive now, but trust me, literally, illiteracy is more expensive.
My name is Marlon Egbedema, MNS. I work at the Tamale SDA Hospital, and I was very excited when we got here and saw that there were a lot of girls who came to learn from us, and the whole thing was very successful. I was very excited again when some of them actually listened and had questions to ask. Questions like when a girl is supposed to start her cycle, why some women don't have their menses, how long the menstrual cycle should last, and somebody asked me why they get their cycles twice in a month, and that shows that actually they came with a mindset to learn. All in all, it was a good time and it was exciting. I would like to thank Martha Inspires Foundation and Plan International for the opportunity. It was nice being here, so thank you to them.
My name is Mohamed Lambong. I'm from Buaini number 2, and then today we are here purposely for a youth empowerment summit. What we've learned so far here, in fact, we are speechless because we can't just express it, because we've learned a lot since Martha Inspires Foundation with Plan Ghana started with us. We started, that was in the January time, up to now, and we've learned about teenage pregnancy, drug abuse, early marriage, and many things. And Martha Inspires Foundation have helped and supported majority of us, and then we've gotten that opportunity to speak even on air, and then sometimes TV discussion, just as the team was in the summit, maximizing our potentials. Through this, we've been able to maximize many of our potentials. In fact, Martha Inspires Foundation, it has helped us a lot to add up the drug abuse side. With Martha Inspires Foundation, we've learned that there are some certain drugs that we are taking, and then in taking of those drugs, we do abuse them because we don't take them as what the doctor has been prescribed by us to do. What Martha Inspires Foundation have donated to us, and even just today they came with some donations. And then some of the participants of this program, in fact, they've enjoyed being in the program, and in fact, it's just amazing. Thank you, Martha Inspires Foundation. Thank you, Plan Ghana.
I want to thank Plan Ghana and Martha Inspire Foundation for your caring and your support. Thank you very much.
Books by Pastor A.L. Fant. They are inspired by the Holy Spirit, simple to comprehend, relevant in application, and so lovely to read. Grab copies like Dynamics of Kingdom Influence, Dynamics of Ministry, Mark is King for Church Workers, Money Matters, and she calls herself a woman. This marriage must work. No more curses. Loaded mouth. Secrets of Kingdom Dominion. The exploits of service. Things fall apart. Church without bleeding pulpit. Singles mingle, and many more.
Hello and welcome to Thoughts from Martha and Spice. Today I want to talk to you about what I have captioned, understanding the mandate of your children. We just had a conversation about parent-child communication, and one of the key things I realize is that we do not allow our children to live their lives. We want to live their lives for them. We want them to rewrite the wrongs that we made. I want from today, parents watching us, to be able to understand that our children are also a gift from God. They are people that God have brought into this world to complete a certain assignment for them. We are helpers in fulfilling that journey, that destiny, and that mandate for God. We all need to put our hands together and ask God what He wants to do in their lives and through them. Let's stop making final decisions for them. You and I can always want something for our kids, but is that what God wants for their kids or for His kids? No. Understand the purpose and the mandate of your child. That can guide you. You are not always right. Yes, we are in Africa. We understand that our parents always want to lead us, but you are not always right. Ask for the directions of God and let God lead you into raising godly children. Godly Children in a Godless Society, written by Pastor Maoli Nyado. I want to recommend this book to you. You can give us a call on 054-9578-512. The numbers on our screen, and we can help you get copies of this right here in Tamale. Thank you for watching. Have a good night.